Kakadosh Boker Or, Masechet Zevachim Daf Yomi Daf Lametet Amud Aleph 39a1. Says the Gemara ve'atanya. We learned in the Raita. Damim ateunim yesod. Right? When blood which are required in the yesod. Remember that they used to take the blood and they used to spill it to the yesod. The yesod is in the bottom part of the mizbeach, right? They used to have the two little holes. So that's the yesod. Teunim kibus umachshava moele bain. So you need to, if it splashes onto them, right? So therefore what happens is, and it goes on the beged, you have to clean it. That's what it means, teunim kibus. You have to wash the clothing. Umachshava moele bain. And the machshava is also going to come and going to be make a pigul. If you're going to bring it outside, you're also going to be chayav. And the blood which is going to be spilled to the amma is on the bottom, right? Which is like the trap floor, right? Which is basically that so he says over here, and tuning kibus, they don't need the kibus. Okay, so he says, who's the one that holds this? So he says that you need kibus, so smash, but according to Rabbi Nechemia, a clothing which you have shiurei adam, which is going to be sprinkled upon it, right? So you need kibus. Because remember, we said that the Kohen has to have clean clothing. So בגדים נקיים, לא יכול להיות שיש דם. אבל השאלה, איזה דם פוסל את הבגדים? שהוא חייב לכבס. That's the question. Which blood? No, so that's what we're talking about. Certain bloods, it goes on him, he doesn't have to wash. Other bloods, he does. And that's what we're saying. The difference is between ta'un kibus and not ta'un kibus. As if it's going to be damim ateunim layesod, which means that it's an integral part of the avodah, as the chayav kibus, chayav lekabes, you have to wash the clothing. If it's going to be blood which goes underneath the floor, it's not like in the you know, like the sewage system, you don't need kibus. If you got dirty from there, it's okay. Okay? Okay, fine, but basically he knew that his clothing was clean until now, and all of a sudden he goes to the sewage water thing, and all of a sudden now he gets dirty. Okay? Umachshava moele bahen. Tanya, we learned in a Rabbi, Yatsu Shiraim, this comes to exclude Shiraim, Vaktarat Emurim, Shem Akvin et Kapara, Shen Machshava Moel Bahen. So Tanya hi b'shalosh matanot bechatat. It's going to be the three matanot in the chatat. Ihach yivsao, tunin yesod. So they do need a yesod then. So says the Gemara, lekeren azle. What does it mean lekeren? Lekeren means that it's going to the keren, to the shalosh matanot, the last ones. So says the Gemara, Eima nitanin yesod. So why don't you just say that it goes to yesod? Right? Umachshava, and the machshava is going to be moele bahen. Remember, machshava moele bahen means that it makes a pigul, because the machshava, your mindset, is going to help to make a pigul. Hamarta, you told me, lo sharia, lo mefagla, v'lo ayla legavai b'kesufan. You said that it doesn't permit it, it doesn't make a pigul, it doesn't go into the, meaning these matanot are not going to permit the korban in anything. So if it's not going to make a pigul, it's not going to permit the korban in eating, or to the chutzis mano, and the blood which is going to be, so he said it's like the avodah, the sof avodah. Sof avodah is the leftovers of the avodah. Leftovers of the avodah is the shidaim that's not going to be posel anything. So says the Gemara, you're right. We're talking about the inner bloods. Okay? But with the outer bloods, what's salacha? So he says patur. You're going to be patur. So at the Tani, so when we came and we learned, right, damim nishpachim lama, that we're talking about the bloods which are going to be spilled to the ama, liflog v'litzne bedida. So why don't we learn it from inside of it itself? One of these words, b'damim ha'pnimiyim, that's going to be the inner bloods. Aval b'damim ha'chitzonim, but with outer bloods, it's going to be patur. So answers the Gemara, Hamani, who is this? Nam Nechemia, shirei adam, that he says, shirei adam shikiva machutz chayav, ve'lo matni la tlata pture levaade tlata chiyuve. So according to him, you cannot learn the shiurei adam of the chatot chitzniot by the three of them of tur, which are going to be like the three which are going to be mechayev. Okay? So, sorry, in order for us to teach then, you cannot explain that the inner dam, the inner blood, is going to be, that means even though the outer blood, we just said that it's going to be showing you that you need kibus, that's not a proof to do with the inner blood of the shalosh matanot. You remember we said that there was going to be three different matanot that had to be in the inside, right? Usually you have to do 4 lechatchila, but if you only did 3, it's still going to be okay. Ravina comes and he says, Mina keren mamash, Mina yesod, Mina roi yesod. What do we say in the Mishnah? When you have blood coming onto your clothing, if it came from the keren of the mizbeach, zodomenet, atasita kacha, right? You sprinkled ala keren on the corner, and then a ricochet. It came back to you. You know how it is. You whoops, and it comes back to you. So when that happens, mina keren mamash, right? So therefore, what happens? That's when we said that you don't need to wash your clothing. right? But if it's ra'ui lakeren, which means that you didn't do it yet, right? So then you do need to wash your clothing. Mina yesod is mina ra'ui liyesod, and not shiurei adam, meaning the one which is fitting for the yesod, and therefore that also does not need kibus, right? Just like dam, which is going to be nitan mina yesod itself. So basically, we're saying that mina keren is mamash from the keren, from the actual corner. And when it said from the yesod, it doesn't mean mamash mina yesod. It means something which is fitting for the yesod. Okay? So Amale Rav Tachlifa Bargaza Ravina. Ema idi vidi rauyu. Why don't I say both of them is only fitting? One more time. Fitting means you didn't do it yet. Right? The actual yesod or the actual keren means you already did it and then it ricocheted back or it came back to you. Okay? So why are you splitting it up and you're telling me if it's from the keren, from the corners, that's mamash mina keren. But if it's from the yesod, it's fitting for the yesod. He says, or both of them is fitting, or both of them is actual yesod and keren. Not no. One of them is the actual keren. One of them is what's going on. How do you explain it? So Haimai. So says Ravina comes and he answers, what's the difference? Hasta roila keren amarta lo ra'uila yesod mibaile. He says, I don't understand you. If you just told me that ra'uila keren, right, anything which is fitting for the keren, right, is not going to be. So then imagine right now it's going to be ra'uila yesod. But rather, he says, mina keren is from the keren mamash. Mina yesod is mina ro'ila yesod. Okay? Fine. Next. Kol hanitanina mizbeach hapnimi. Anything which is good. Yeah, sorry. The two dots on the bottom of the page. Okay? Lametet mund aleph on the bottom. Kol hanitanina al mizbeach hapnimi im chiser acham mina metonot lo kiper. You remember we said there were certain korbanot which are done on the inside and certain korbanot which are done on the outside. The inside, mizbeach hapnimi, right? What other names are there to the mizbeach hapnimi? You've got a few of them. Very good. Chazak Baruch, mizbach hazahav, because it's gold. The outer one is mizbach nechoshet, out of copper. Very good. What else? Mizbach ketoret. It's called because the ketoret is only on the penimi. So therefore, the chataot, there's some on the inside, some on the outside. So mizbach ketoret, mizbach hazahav, and mizbach penimi. Right? And the outer one is mizbach achitzon. Right? Remember, you always say mizbach when it's connected to another word. If it's not, it's mizbeach. Right? So mizbach achitzon, mizbach nechoshet. Okay? That's on the outer one. Fine. So says the Gemara like this. Tanu Rabbana, we learned in the Braita. It says ve'asa ka'asher asa. Ma ba lilmod. When it says right now ve'asa, what does it mean then when it says ka'asher asa? So what does it come to teach you? Lichpol be'azato velimed. So it's coming to teach us like the second time around to do with the azah. Velimed. So it's coming to teach you she'im chiser acham mikol matanot. That if it's going to come and it's going to be michaser one of the matanot, lo asa velo klum. Yeah, you didn't do anything. Yeah? Okay. So says the Gemara, Eli ela matan sheva. That's only going to be to do with the sheva of the hazaot on the parochet, right? Which are going to be makvod b'chol makom. Matan arba minayin, meaning like this. When it says over there, ve'asa kasher asa, there it's talking about, right, the 7. You remember on Kippur, you do 39. So you're going to do 7, and then another 7, and then there's a whole bunch of like numbers and everything. You remember? So here it says that's only to do with the mitzvah of 7. Whoever told you that it's going to be to do with the mitzvah of 4? Yeah? So says the Gemara, La par ze Yom Kippurim. Remember, when it says the word par, it's par Yom Kippurim. Okay, Lametet Amubet, 39b. Kasher asa la par, ze par Kohen HaMashiach. That's going to be the par Kohen HaMashiach. Hachatat is Sirei Avodot HaKochavim. So Yachol Shani Marbeaf Sirei HaRegalim Sirei Rashi Chodeshim. So I would have thought to say the same thing would happen to the he-goat of the Shalosh Regalim, or the he-goat of Rashi Chodeshim. Today is Rosh Chodesh. You bring a seed. Right? You bring a seed. So Talmud Lomar comes teach you lo. What does it mean lo? Lo is dafka to it, right? And not to another korban. So because of that, I'm going to say that the Kavanat of the Torah is coming to exclude Sirei Regalim and Sirei Rashi Chodeshim, that you don't have the same halacha as a par elem davar, but rather like a chatat on the outside, an external chatat. Not like the chatat that technically it's going on the inside. So says the Gemara, why am I going to come and I'm going to include these ones and to exclude the other ones? אחר שריבה כתוב מרבה אני את אלו, ומומיית מרבה אני את אלו, שמכפרים על עבירות שמצווה ידועה, ומוציא אני אלו שאין מכפרים על עבירה מצווה יהודה. So he comes and he says this, he says, I'm going to be מרבה הכתוב, right, which is going to be ממעט, right, I'm going to come and I'm going to be מרבה אלו, right, אני את אלו, right, שמכפרים על עבירות מצווה ידועה, something which is going to be מכפר on the mitzvah which is known, ומוציא אלו שאין מכפרים על עבירה מצווה ידועה, and it's going to be מכפר on these ones which are not a mitzvah ידועה. So he comes and he says like this, וכיפר, אף על פי שלא שמח, ונסלח, אף על פי שלא נתן שיניים. He says no, when it says the word וכיפר עליו הכהן, it means that even though he was not samach yadav al rosh apar, and when it says v'nislach lahem, it's af al pi shelo nitan et hashinaim, even though he didn't give the shinaim. So says the Gemara, Umar ha'ita lifsol hazaot ulachshir b'smicha v'shinaim, אמרת פוסל אני בהזעות ומעכבות בכל מקום, מכשיר אני בשמיכה ושיניים שאין מעכבות בכל מקום. So he's coming and saying like this, what did you find to disqualify the hazaot and to be machshir smicha and shinayim? Smicha is the leaning on the animal, and the shinaim is left over the bloods. Amarta, I'm going to say that I'm going to be posel b'hazaot, which are me'akvot b'chol makom, and then I'm going to be machshir ani b'smicha v'shinayim, she'en me'akvot b'chol makom, that it's not going to be me'akev anywhere else. So Amar Mor, so Mor says, En li ela matan sheva. That's only going to be by the 7 of them. She'me'akvot b'chol makom, that it's always going to be me'akev the kapara. Right? Hechal. So Amar Rav Papa be'parah uvenegaim. By the parah duma and also be'negaim. There we know that it has to be davka sheva pamim. And if you're going to skip on anything, it's me'akev. So from there we learned that it's going to be davka me'akev, that number.